An Italian from Philadelphia, Phil Simonetta, used to be in the restaurant and bar industry, went through a divorce, and beat feet to Florida, where he opened up a real estate brokerage and a real estate training school. In this video, he talks about what he's doing in the industry to be different and how he's teaching agents to survive today in the real estate industry. I hope you enjoy the show. Phil, how long have you been in the real estate industry?
I have to tell you, I've been in the business since I was about 19 years old, and I'm 46 now. So I got in by accident, though. I got married, and I bought a townhouse, and it was being constructed. And while the townhouse was being built, it was like a 5-6 month period until it was be ready to move in. So I bought the townhouse. It's $101,000 back then, and this was like '99. And by the time the house got completed, I turned around and sold it for $162,500. Never moved into it. So I'm working a job making $60,000 a year in investments. And I'm like, I'm onto something here because I just made $60,000 by accident. And then I started doing tremendous research, started flipping properties, and I got into the business on that end. I was also in the restaurant and nightclub business. I owned a couple bars and restaurants. And so I grew up in that. And I kind of stumbled into real estate by accident when I bought that townhouse. And ever since then, I never looked back. That's where it was.
So how, I'm surprised, number one, that you stayed married. I mean, are you still married to the same woman?
No. I almost didn't get married because of the house. Like her mother was going to kill me.
Yeah, you signed a contract to move into this brand new townhouse, and then all of a sudden you said, "Hey, let's sell it and make money." Yeah. How long after that before you became a licensed agent?
I became a licensed agent here in Florida, 2014.
Right.
So I didn't even move to Florida till a few years prior, and I was in the restaurant business. I always flipped, and I had investment properties, but I never got into the real estate agent area because I couldn't stand them. I hated working with real estate agents because I'd want to do something and they didn't know how to write the contract. I wanted seller contribution. They didn't know how to write the contract, and I always would have to deal with them. And I always felt like I was doing their job and they're taking money right from me. So that was one of my frustrations. And to this point today, I still have some of those frustrations with a lot of agents. Like when I get offers and I mean, nothing's complete. Boxes are missed, not checked. Their clients are out there in the wind. I mean, they're not protecting their clients. And I'm sure I've heard you talk before about, every time you get an offer, there's something you got to fix or do something. And it's frustrating. And it's what's out there. It's what we deal with every day. But that's, where I'm at.
It's interesting. You and I share a lot of the same sentiments, and we've had that conversation before. But Phil, I didn't get my real estate license until 2005. So I've been in the housing industry since 1989, and as a contractor, and then a developer, builder, and then also an investor, rehabber, flipper. And I can remember when I went to real estate school. It was a in-classroom setting. The internet, these remote classes weren't really a big thing. And I was sitting in a class of maybe 30, 35 people, and the instructor was going around the room and was saying to everyone on the first day, kind of like, introduce yourself and tell us why you want to be a real estate agent. And they got to me, and everybody was giving these great heartfelt reasons. They love people and they want to help and serve and yada, yada, yada. They get to me, and I said, look, I'm here purely for the reason that I feel like I have been held at bay, like almost like a prisoner to real estate agents in my industry, building and selling houses that I, created. And I can't stand real estate agents. So I'm hoping to just completely, not be dependent on them anymore. And everybody was looking at me like, oh my gosh, there's that guy, right? Like, oh, he's one of those. Mm-hmm. But Phil, I fell in love with the business as you have. Mm-hmm. And a couple years later, I had a team of 9 agents at a pretty large brokerage, and the rest is kind of history. So let me ask you a question. So 2014, so you entered the business after the great financial crisis. And, that's a big deal because you didn't survive as an agent or broker, during a massive downturn. And, with the fact that now this is your first wake up call to reality, because since 2014 the market's been booming, appreciation's been amazingly good. More and more investors have gotten in the business, so all kinds of reasons to permit a real estate agent from making money. But now, in the light of real estate sales in some markets down more than 50% across the country, and a lot of people don't like agents now, where in 2014 they did. Now they don't, because they feel that we've been part of the problem. Do you think now that you're getting a little bit of taste of what it's like to go through a downturn, and even if you haven't felt it yet, but it's coming, do you think it's going to be a lucrative enough business to stay in?
For me,
Yes.
I think 100%. I think I'll make more money now than I did when the market was hot. And I'll tell you why. First of all, between what's going on with NAR and the whole buyer agent thing and what's going on with the market, I think we're going to lose 50% of the agents. I mean, there's just not enough work. And one of the things, now I wasn't an agent, I wasn't licensed during the '08 and '09, '07 catastrophe, but I owned property and I bought a lot of property at the right time when they were low. So I did navigate it. However, I wasn't navigating as a third party representing somebody.
Yeah.
However, I dealt with a lot of short sales, a lot of REOs. I built relationships with banks. I'd buy 2-3 houses for the price of 1.5 because I put a package deal together and get the red off the books. So at this point, what I'm doing now as an agent, I'm already, I have a listing I'm taking tomorrow around the corner from my office. I've already talked to them about it, about the situation, what's going on. And I'm preambling everything that they're going to be dealing with. I mean, you're talking $20,000 less you're going to get now than you would have gotten 6 months ago. There's no way about it. And I'm just being transparent and straightforward. And I tell them the truth. And that's the thing I tell them. You got to tell the public, here's what's going on. It's not good news. It's not bad news. It's what the facts are. And I'm going to tell you what we're dealing with no matter what. And I always tell them, I'm in real estate. I'm not some real estate agent. Okay, I buy it, I sell it, I flip it, I build it, I develop it. I've been doing it since I was 19 years old in some fashion. And I've seen markets up, down, left, right. The bottom line is there's always buyers, no matter where the rate is, no matter what the prices are. I just looked on the MLS. I'm in 3 different MLSs. So I just looked in Beaches, which is Fort Lauderdale, north and south down to Miami. And I just went through there. In the last 7 days, there was 2,600 closings. There's still closings. There's still deals going on, and there's always deals going on. You got to be smart enough and strong enough to get between the buyer and seller on all those deals. But you have to be able to be competent. They have to know one thing, and you've touched on this in previous videos that I've seen. Today, a buyer and a seller only don't need a real estate agent for a lot of things, right? All the technology, they know more about the neighborhoods than we'll ever know because they want to live there or they do live there. We're never going to be able to research it the way they do because it's part of them, right? They're there. That's where they want to go. What they need a real estate agent for is to know that they can get the deal done for them. Buy that house for a little bit cheaper, sell that house for a little bit more. Technology erased everything else that the real estate agent brings to the table. When I'm talking to clients, I know they're questioning me on things and they already know the answers. They just want to see if I know about the neighborhood, about this, about that. I could tell, they already come in, with full pockets of all the information. They need to know I'll get the buyer maybe from another country, maybe from international marketing, maybe from outside the state, maybe a retiree moving to the villages. And those kind of people, sometimes they don't even get an appraisal. They write a check because they want to be there. And that's the kind of people, that's who's buying right now. I mean, I'm not seeing first-time home buyers. I'm not seeing anything. A lot of what we're dealing with is cash deals or, $100,000, $200,000 down, and they're doing like a short-term arm, hoping that the rates come down. I'm not seeing any, first-time home buyers, things of that nature. I'm dealing with strictly investors and people moving to Florida who are retiring. That's all that's on the market. Everything else is dried up in the last, I'd say, 2-3 months on what I'm seeing.
Phil, I respect you a whole lot, man. And, but I have to, and certainly I want to give agents or anybody in the industry, kind of hope that of what could come. But I have to tell you, man, there are a lot of people that believe, me included, in that there are some real rough times ahead for real estate agents. I think that, and you mentioned it, National Association of Realtors has been under scrutiny. And I think the public is getting to a point to whether, and you said that also, and what you're just kind of unpacking what you just said, that people are going to be looking to, maybe not use a real estate agent, especially when they're a buyer. So I think that we have to be prepared for that in some way. But I can tell you in 2008, really 2009, 2010, as we were really in the height, 11, 12, of the real estate crash, if you told somebody you were a real estate agent, they asked you what else you did, because the chances were you had another job, right? And this is the kind of industry where you can't really have another job. I mean, I'm against that. I think that, you're either full-time or you're not. And a lot of people aren't prepared financially to, stay the course. And it's hard. I mean, look, I just saw in the news that Rite Aid finally filed for bankruptcy. I mean, it's, a lot of different things are happening. You can hold on or try and hold on. But the biggest thing that I just want to caution people, and you included, as somebody that I've been a real estate investor. You're invested in real estate in brick and mortar. You have a school. You're expanding your license into different states. But when I went through the great financial crisis, and I had been through a lot of these, I wasn't prepared with the right mindset. Just to say, I think I'm going to make more money now more than ever isn't enough to just make that happen, right? So we have to be smart, because when I was getting up every day and I was shaving, going to work, until 2005, headlines hit the overpriced Baltimore housing market, and I watched my profitability start to go right out the window. I had no idea it was going to be for 10 years. Now, taking all of these other things that have come into play, how are you going to make the most amount of money, specifically if we experience a massive real estate downturn?
Yeah. Well, the downturn's coming. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think you'll see a 20-30% downturn in general. I mean, it's the inventory's shooting. You got the Airbnbs coming on the market. You got people, foreclosures that are starting to, list pendencies are being filed finally. They were waiting a year to do that. It's all coming. So the key to it is to be successful, okay? In this time when the real estate slows down and the rest of the whole market is slowing down, you're going to have excellent salespeople out of work. You're going to have excellent, I'm talking as a broker now, not just as an agent.
But what do you say to the agent? How's an agent today that did, over the last couple of years that happened to do financially well? Okay, they're not rich. They can't not have a paycheck. As they've been making money, they've been spending money on things like a car. Maybe they even bought a house themselves. How do you tell agents that are in the business right now that they need to prepare right now, right? What do they need to do today to survive?
Yeah, you got to position yourself as an expert. You got to deliver results, because all this dancing around, singing on TikTok, things like that, that's not going to cut it when it comes time for somebody who's taking a loss on their investment, or being very close to that, or making an investment in a market where it's not conclusive to a good investment. Maybe they're making it because they have to, and they need someone that they can count on, that can handle a situation, that can negotiate on their behalf, that can get them the deal.
What does the agent do? What do they need to be doing right now?
Document what you're doing, show what you're doing, have your clients refer you, have your clients give you testimonials, and you need to be able to present yourself. Start a YouTube channel, talk to people about facts, get out there, go to events, be in the public eye. You have to communicate. You have to go out there and reach out to people. If people don't know who you are, you could be the best agent on earth, but if they don't know you, what's the point? You have to be able to make an impact. And truthfully, it might be easier to make that impact because with a lot of people not making money, with a lot of people not out there doing things, you can constructively and probably not for a lot of money start making an impact. You don't have to go out there and spend money. You don't have to go out there and put billboards up. That's crazy. You go out there and all you need is one deal a week, one deal a month, one client a month. If you can start a podcast, start talking to people, join a group, go to the Chamber of Commerce, just get out there and talk to people about what you're doing for people, how things are getting done. I mean, the only way you can do it is you got to be aggressive, and it's going to be, you're going to have less competition. There's no doubt about it. It's just everybody's process of accomplishing that is going to be different. It's just like, there's point A and point B. You can go straight line. You can go this way. I mean, there's many ways to get there. But the bottom line is people got to have confidence in you. You must know what you're doing, and you got to be effective, and you got to deliver results. Results is what it's about. And the more you can do that, I mean, that's in anything, not just real estate. But at the end of the day, results. And you can't focus on the money. Forget the money. You got to care about people. You got to do the job for the people, and you got to be genuine. You come in there looking for money, they're gonna see that a mile away, man. You got to be genuine and really care about people. I mean, there's deals. I've done a deal where I charged a 1% commission. And that was it. I got the closing. The guy bought a property. This was a few years back, and he took a killing. And he was losing big money. And I double-sided it. It would have been a huge commission. And I walked in there, and I felt really bad for the guy. He had some family situations and things really that nobody should face. And went into the closing. And at the closing, I told the title company, just pay me 1% commission. I didn't even take the full, and it helped them out. I mean, it didn't, it changed the world for him. It didn't hurt me, but it changed the world for him. And that's something, since then, I've done 4 or 5 different deals with that guy and people he's referred me to. Just because I took a loss on that. I didn't take a loss. I still made money, but it was, it was something that I felt to do. When you care about people and you deliver those results, nothing else can happen but success. I mean, people are going to come to you. They want to deal with you. And you got to have that relationship with them.
I love what you said about, starting a podcast or doing something, getting out in social media. One of the things that I tell agents all the time is that, the most important thing right now is to be in social media. And really, it's not too late. I've been preaching it for years, at least the last 5 years. I've been saying, look, forget about your website. Forget about sending emails out. Eyeballs are currency. You need to start utilizing platforms, getting familiar with video like you're watching right now, and start, just like Phil said, educating people. I think that, one of the issues that, and you touched on it, when you said that you discounted at the table, and I don't want us to talk about commissions because I don't want us to be accused of violating antitrust laws. But when you talk about, commissions, a lot of agents, they don't have the ability to negotiate based on their broker's, agreement, their ICA, independent contractor agreement with the agent. But when you look at with what's going on, and I think the big thing is, Phil, and you and I have spoke about this before, with a lot of the buyers is that, they didn't realize how much their buyer's agent was making. And I think that, and they didn't see it until settlement. So we came off a period of time where so many buyers were, losing out on deals. They were spending their last dollar to get a house. They were pressured by their agent in a lot of ways, which I hope anyone considering going into the business, or if you're wondering how you're going to stay in the business, that you will understand that part of being a fiduciary, Phil said it, you can't put the money first. You have to focus on the number of transactions. But do you think over the next, several years, do you think that we're going to see where buyers are going to, since there's so much scrutiny with commissions, do you think that buyers are going to be required sometime soon to pay their agent directly? And, if so, how do agents prepare for that?
Well, in this situation, I truly think buyer agents are going to be out of the business. And here's why. There's no reason a buyer will pay a buyer's agent 2-3% at the closing table, or even possibly finance that into their loan is what they're talking about, right? Why on earth would they do that? Now, every state's different. In Florida, we're a transaction broker, and then we have single agency and we have no brokerage relationship. Do you have that in Maryland? Do you have no brokerage relationship? So if you're a listing agent, you could be in no brokerage relationship with the buyer, but the buyer doesn't have representation, right?
We do. We have a disclosure form whom the agent represents, and you have to give that. We don't have any presumed agency in Maryland. We're a statutory state, and a lot of agents, they don't do this correctly. But yes, you can. We call it the client is someone we have agency with. The customer is somebody that they are not represented.
Right. So the client's the seller, the customer is the buyer.
The customer could be the buyer. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right. So in Florida, we have single agency, which you're representing one or other, or you have transaction broker. So you can represent the seller as a transaction broker and the buyer, and you're representing the transaction. Tennessee has that as well. North Carolina doesn't. So I'm navigating that all the time. So let me explain. So if I'm a transaction broker, when I list a property, I can represent the buyer automatically because you're presumed transaction broker in Florida. There's no form for that. But now if I'm representing the seller as a single agent with fiduciary, I can only represent that buyer as a no brokerage relationship. Or I can transition to a transaction broker with the seller and handle the whole thing. There's two ways to do it. Now, the buyer has the option. Say, I can be a no brokerage relationship. I can do all the paperwork. You can take it to your attorney and review it. Now, that buyer, or I can say, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, there's a buyer for the property. They want to see the house. Now, I can't show it to them today, so I transition. I can't do both, right? So I have to go to the seller and say, hey, can I do a transition to transaction broker and represent the entire transaction and bring the buyer? If they say no, I can only do no brokerage. So let's say they say no because they don't want their information shared. I have fiduciary with them. They don't want the buyer to know their business, right? Let's just say that's the case. So I go to the buyer and say, listen, you can either go to another agent who's going to charge you 2-3%, or I can represent you in a no brokerage relationship. I'll charge you 1% and do everything. And then you could take the papers and now go to your lawyer, pay him $500, review everything, make sure everything's clear and kosher for your side. Or I could just say, go to your lawyer and not charge them anything. It just depends on the deal, right? So if I believe I can charge them a 1% fee where they would have to pay another buyer broker 2 or 3, hey, obviously I can actually be paid for the work I'm doing for them, not just do the paperwork, right? So you have both of those options now. So I really, truly think that any buyer who's educated and sophisticated and that doesn't, is in this thing and doesn't know what they're doing would be in a no brokerage relationship or a transaction broker relationship, take that contract to their attorney, pay them $500, $750. What's it take them an hour or two to read it? Make sure everything's kosher because the contract's pre-written by the Florida Bar Association or the state or the pre-made forms. We fill them in, and then they just need to verify. And I think those buyers will be saving tons of money by doing it that way. So what educated buyer is going to pay Joe Blow down the street because they're top producer for whatever company? If I'm a buyer and I have 5 houses I want to look at, I simply call the 5 listing agents and go look at them. I mean, I think that's where the industry is going to go. I mean, it makes no sense. I'm buying a $500,000 house. I got to pay you $10,000 to show it to me. What are they doing? I mean, I really, and I truthfully, when I hire my agents, I teach them how to list property. I have an apprenticeship program. And I don't deal with buyers for 15 years. I haven't, since I've been in this business, I don't market buyers. I've always done listings, and I don't market buyers because, when you're dealing with buyers, you're showing 10 properties, you got to show them 5 more. They like one, you go in there, the roof has a problem. The seller doesn't want to fix it. Contract dies. You got to go show them 4 more properties. You finally get a deal. 3 months later, you close. When you're listing properties, you're having an appointment, you're spending a few hours, you're getting everything done. You handle the marketing, which is the fun part, open houses, doing things, meeting people. For me, I bring my agents in. The only time I've dealt with buyers is if it's a relative or if I'm selling the house and they're moving to another one. I refuse to pay Zillow. I refuse to pay Realtor.com. I focus on my expired listings, my for sale by owners. And when I list a property, I circle prospect the 500 homes around him. Hey, we just listed a property down the street. It's on the market for this much. We has an in-law suite, blah, blah, blah. I'm just curious. Do you know anybody wants to move to the neighborhood, or, are you interested in selling or buying or anything? Can I send you a free report on the house? Boom. I got a lead, right? I put it in my contact base, right? And I 300, 400, 500, I get as many houses as I can around that. And I have the agents do the same thing. And we focus strictly on the selling of the property, just because of the not convenience, but because of the effectiveness. You're going to spend a month or two trying to get one buyer deal done when you can get 3, 4 listings in the same time. It's just a simple. And plus, when you have the listings, you have more control. You have more freedom, right? You're not at whim's call, or we're going to go see this, or we're going to go see that, or and one of the things when people get into this business, they're told, be a buyer's agent, go do rentals, go be a buyer's agent. And it's something that it's not cost effective. It's not profitable, for your time. And I mean, of course, everybody can't do that because you need, you needed that. But some people I know people who just do 25 rentals a month and are making great money, but they're running around like crazy, and it's just different niches in the industry where you want to go. And that's another thing that's shifting, the way we're paid, the way contracts are going to be, the way listing agreements are going to be, the way rentals are going to be. There's so much changing right now in our industry. We might not know what it looks like 2-3 years from now. It may completely be a different facade of what we're doing as agents, as brokers.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that you may be watching this that are buyer's agents that may, they may feel like throwing in the towel after all that, Phil. I mean, look, I know that, as a tenured agent and real estate broker, obviously, there's a saying that's list the last. I don't know who coined it, but, obviously we know that is, a clear path. I think one of the issues that we're going to have to look into is what do we see that is going to trump the outcome of, in this of buyers and sellers in this industry. There are some people that are contrary to what you just said, and what I just said is list to last. There are a lot of people that believe that the listing agents are going to go away. Because, if the inventory is down and this is projected to be a long range forecast, I mean, I don't know if it is or not. I personally don't buy into that. I think that we're going to have a glut. I don't think that we're going to have a shortage. But if you just look at the different narratives for argumentative purposes, there are some people that believe that they're wasting money. I mean, look, the sellers are the one that started this lawsuit. They said, why should I be paying a commission to a listing broker that is then split to a buyer's broker, and they're competing directly against me? Why should me, the seller, take this amount of money, whatever it is, and commissions are always negotiable, but why should I contribute to that at all? That's what started this whole commissions controversy with the National Association of Realtors. So a lot of people think, hey, you know what? Maybe the sellers are just going to say, I'm just going to sell it myself, and I'm going to rely on the buyer's agent to bring me the deal. I don't know. But what do you think? So let's just talk a minute about real estate licensees, because I think that we both agree that this has been too easy of a business. The barrier to entry is low to become a real estate agent. Unfortunately, you're a broker. I'm a broker. You're a trainer. You have a school. We at one point, I think in 2022, hit the highest number of licensees that the industry's ever seen. And I think we hit like more than 1.6 million licensees. And that at the time was more than the actual listings available for people to buy. What do you think will happen to that number in your mind? Will it be cut in half? What do you think is going to happen to the number of licensees?
Yeah, I think the number is cut in half at least. And what's going to happen, in my opinion, NAR, with if you look at NAR, they're losing membership. I mean, just anywhere, Remax, Century 21, Sotheby's, they're not requiring their agents. Redfin, they're pulling out of NAR. NAR lost $77 million a year just if they all come out. If you calculate that, NAR's making about $250 million a year. If each agent pays $220 a year to NAR, and you have 1.5 million of them, that means they're making $250 million a year. Now, with 350,000 of them coming out at 220, they're losing $77 million per year in a week. I mean, that's literally if those people pull out. Now, if they're pulling out, don't you think other brokerages and people are going to pull out as well? So a lot of that power structure is going to, I think, fall apart. Now, as you're saying about where it's going to go with the licensees, education-wise, you hit the nail on the head. I have the school here in Florida. I'm teaching agents. I'm teaching continuing education. I'm doing the recertification licensing. We have 31 courses. And I'm seeing people getting in. I mean, you can come in. You could take a 2.5 week course, 63 hours. Very low bar to get in. 18 years old, high school diploma. The problem I see is the education. It's good education to get a license. However, once you obtain that license, there's no education. Go find a broker. Here's your materials. Pay the broker a couple $100 and go work. That's where the line is. It's not just the education to get the license and continue, your post licensing and all that. That education's fine if you ask me. It's the education of how to apply it to the world. Because in those classes, you're not taught how to do listings. You're taught the law and you're taught to stay out of jail. Is what you're taught. When you go to your broker, it's the broker's responsibility to teach you contracts. And I mean, you have the MLS, you join the MLS, MLS has all their trainings, but the broker's responsibility should be that you know how to fill out a contract, that you know ethics, how to apply things to people for your reputation. That was my biggest challenge when I entered this business. No one taught me anything. And I saw how people struggled and left. Now, listen, I had different businesses. I was in the bar restaurant business. I know how to make things work. So it took me, I went to the MLS for 3 months straight. They didn't have courses online then. So I went in there like 2-3 times a week and took classes, learned how to use RPR, learned how to use Matrix, learned how to use Flex MLS for each different thing, right? So I had that dedication. 90% of agents they don't even know where to start. Most people, when they go for a job, they punch in the clock, right? They have a list of things to do that day. They punch out the clock and they go home, right? They have somebody telling them what to do. See, in this business, as you know, if you want to wake up, you wake up. If you don't, you don't. If you make calls, you do. If you don't, you don't. It's like there's no list of what to do, and you have to be a certain type of person to be able to write that list for yourself the night before and punch in and punch out for yourself. Now, when you do that, your income's unlimited, right? You can do anything you want, but you got to have that dedication, that commitment. Now, real quick, I just want to say something about what you said about the buyer brokers. It's like I'm scaring them to get out of the business. No, I'm not scaring them. I'm telling them you must adapt. If you want to be in this business, you must adapt because things are changing. And just because you're successful doing this That doesn't mean you can keep doing what you're doing and be successful. Things are changing. It's out of our control.
Yeah,
So I'm not trying to scare them. I'm trying to tell them, look, adapt before it's too late.
yeah.
That's kind of what they have to do. Um, I have a very good friend that owns. It was in the car business. He's in the car business. He's been on the wholesaling side for the beginning of time. When a dealership would take a car in, but they don't want to resell it because it's a little bit older, he would buy that and then take it, make a few $100, $1,000, sell it, and do 30, 40, 50, maybe 100 of them a month, right? Make tons of money. However, when Carvana came out and this one and that one and all these companies will buy your car, all those dealerships now started selling them to those people for a higher price, and the wholesalers couldn't buy cars anymore. So what do? They eliminated the wholesalers, a whole segment of the industry, like within a year. A lot of those people went out of business. A lot of them adapted and shifted to different ways of making money in that business. It's the same thing that's happening in our industry now. You have to be able to adapt to see what's coming ahead of you. You got to be 10 miles ahead on the road of what's coming. You can't be focusing on what's happening today. You got to be focusing on 10 miles down the road with the knowledge of what happens today.
No,
and that's the only way.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I think there's a lot to learn from that. Yeah, and I think a lot of what you're saying, Phil, is the fact that people aren't prepared. They become real estate agents and they don't realize that they're starting their own business. Commission-based sales. They're starting their own company. That's number one. And I think as most small businesses, people are excited about something. They get into it. They're at the highest level excitement, and then they kind of get beat around. And I think that's why, they're not prepared financially. They don't have enough reserves. They don't have the right leadership. They pick the broker based on maybe where their friend is a agent versus, looking for a great real estate brokerage that's going to give them the training that's necessary. And I want to caution people too that if you're considering a career of real estate, money is not, and Phil said it earlier, money is not everything. So when you're looking around, there are definitely brokerages that will pay you all the commission and offer zero training or very little training. And then there are other brokerages that will push you to a team or, encourage you to, do various things, come into the office, not get up whenever you want. And they're the kind of leadership, the businesses with the leadership that you really want to focus on if you want to be successful. But I do want to say, if you are considering being in this business or you're in the business and you're considering whether you should stay in the business, guys, I'm a firm believer you have got to get out of your house and get to an office. Now, I have people that tell me this all the time. They're like, I can work from home. I work better from home. Bullcrap. Most people don't. You have to get in somewhere. I interviewed a very young agent, Liam from Vermont, and it's also on this channel if you want to watch it. But Liam, 26 years old, been in the business for 4 years. This guy gets up every single day and goes into the office, not because he's incompetent at home, but he said that when he goes to the office and he interacts and watches other successful agents conducting business, there is something about that inspires him to do well.
Yeah, I want to respond about the broker, about what you're talking about, the money, the 100% companies, things like that. One of the things you need when you get into this business, you must find a broker who will educate you, teach you, and mentor you. One of the things, like I mentioned earlier, when I got into this business, I got thrown out there. I made it because I knew how to hustle, and I knew I don't give up. I set a goal, and I get there or I die trying. I've been like that my whole life. So I got here, right? And I'm still growing, and every day I learn. And I still learn from people. Every day something new, right? So one of the things I did when I hire agents, I created an apprenticeship program. And, a real estate transaction has, 23, 25 steps to closing, depending on the deal. Now, the first 3 steps are your most critical, okay? Your prospecting, okay? Your calls, and you're setting the appointment. Prospecting, contacts, and appointments. So I teach them everything they need to know about those 3 steps. Now, when you're coming in this business, to know the other steps, writing contracts, dealing with title companies, ordering insurance, or ordering appraisal, like lenders, it's like standing in front of a fire hydrant and turning it on and you're just done. So what I decided was I created an apprenticeship. I bring agents in, new agents, and I teach them the first 3 steps. I get them to master those, making calls. We make calls together. I make calls with them. I'm actually going to start doing it live on YouTube. We're going to start putting little workshops together, and I'm going to start doing the actual work, letting the world see it. And what I do is I teach them to get the appointment with the client, Zoom appointment. The first appointment is on Zoom. That's the pre-qualification. So I have talking points, not scripts, because scripts, you have scripts that started with Mike Ferry, and then everybody that worked for him started their own companies and changed the scripts, right? So those scripts get to the point, but I created talking points. So when you're talking to somebody, you have a point you make, they're going to say something. We don't know what they're going to say, but they're going to say something. Just like a script, they have to say something so you can go to the next line. But the talking points, they can say, hey, the sky is red. Okay, yeah, okay. And you go to point 2, point 3, point 4. And it gives the new agent with no experience the ability, if they learn that talking points, to sound like they've been in the business 20 years. And I always use the analogy. You look at Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp being Johnny Depp is having a drink in some bar in England, right? He's not making any money. Johnny Depp reading a script, being a pirate, he makes $100 million a year from Disney. That script is what makes you money. Now that script, if they can take that script and they can communicate to them and get them on that Zoom call, at that point, they're on the Zoom call with me, the client, and them. I record the Zoom call. I ask the client's permission. I say, can we record this? And I'll send you a copy so you see everything we talked about. Now, I do that so I can give the client a copy, but I do that so we can keep a copy for that agent. Now, what I do is I take over when they're new, and I take it from there to get in the listing. And then I take the agent with me. We go do the photography. We go to the property. I take the drone. We do all our own stuff. I have cameras. I do everything in-house because I'm sick and tired of dealing with outside people who do like a half-ass job, excuse my language, but it's not what I would do. And it's not the quality I want. So I take them and I teach them how to do everything. When it comes time to writing up the listing agreement, we go on Zoom. I write the listing agreement with them sitting there watching me. I send it, we get it signed, all through AuthentiSign. I do everything on the whole deal with them. Now, on their first 2-3 deals, that's what we do. And I split those deals 50-50 because I'm doing all the work and they're learning. That's kind of like their tuition, right? College tuition. That's their dibs they're paying, right? On the second or third one, I'll still be there with them, but I'll shut up. They'll introduce me and I'll shut up and sit back and I let them do it. And if I see them start to slip up, I come in and I pick up. The client never knows. I come in, pick up, and we go from there on. And then, after 3-4 of those, they're good on their own. It's like riding a bike. It's just different names, different people, different numbers. It's the same process. Yeah. And then once they're on their own, I'm very fair. 80% them, 20% me. That's it. Well, that's it. That's how I run the brokerage, and it works. Yeah. Everybody has listings in their first 30 days. Yeah. Everybody who comes in here works.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sure they really appreciate that. So, yeah, man. Well, look, I appreciate your advice here, and guys, and hopefully, you can reach out to Phil if you'd like to. We'll put his information in the show notes, and so we appreciate it, Phil. Final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I just want to tell everybody: don't quit. Don't give up on yourself. Adapt. Look at what's going on. Don't focus on what other people are doing. Focus on what you need to do to get your career where you need it to be. And look for solid people who are successful. Don't take people's words for anything, okay? Look at their stats, look at their numbers, look at their production. And the thing I always tell people is numbers don't lie, people do. So look at the numbers, look at the stats, and that'll get you where you're going.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. All right, so what do you think of this Italian boy, Phil from Philadelphia? I hope you enjoyed the show. You can let me know and Phil know that you did by hitting that thumbs up. Drop your comments below. I'd like to know, what did you get out of the video that you thought was either helpful or that you didn't like, for that matter? Drop the comments below. I enjoy reading them. And if you haven't subscribed, consider doing so now too. Housing Market Insider. Hit that alert bell. You'll know every time we upload videos just like this. See you soon.